Hey folks, this is Mr. MegaManFan. Like, share, comment, subscribe. You know all the things to do. You may remember that in a previous video I went over some Super Famicom imports I picked up. Well, in this video I've got Doraemon 3 and Hyper Olympic and Nagano 98 for N64. These came out of the same box. And you also see Mario Golf here. I decided to just get a whole bunch of imports all at once and combine shipping to save some money. And DK64 was like $1 or so, which is way less than the North American version. You'll need an adapter to play it, but the adapter only cost me $5. Murder on the Mississippi for Famicom, another $1 or so game. I think that one was like $1.99, not too expensive. And this is a Ganbare Goemon game. The series really didn't pick up much steam here until the 16-bit era when Mystical Ninja came out. And here also is Tag Team Wrestling, a NES classic, but I decided to get the Famicom version as well. And next up on the list, Devious, one that I actually bought twice because I looked at the copy I bought and saw it had a bad label, so I bought another one. And like I said, I got combined shipping on it, so I can trade off the lesser version to a friend, or maybe just keep it as a spare in case the first one breaks, as unlikely as I think that would be. Carts are pretty darn durable. I bought a copy of Hyperzone for Super Nintendo recently for $7, and I thought it wasn't working, and I had even tried to clean it myself with the rubbing alcohol and Q-tips. Oh, here's Wizardry, by the way. And I was going to return it, and the store owner did an even more thorough job of cleaning it and gave it back to me. There's the other copy of Devious. And Hyperzone worked after he was done cleaning it, so big shout out to Candy at Pop Culture. His technique is clearly better than mine. NFL Football for Mega Drive. That was cheap too. It was only $1, so I threw it into this lot. Here we have Family Boxing, which, like Tag Team Pro Wrestling, I believe there's probably an NES version of it, but I got the Famicom one. And we've got even more to go through here. I've got some WonderSwan games coming up. That was majorly the reason that I bought this order, was that I saw a bunch of WonderSwan games go up from one seller, and it's so hard to get them and find them that I just splurged and decided to get a whole bunch at once. Here's Dragon Ball Z Butoden 2. I had 1 and 3, but not 2 for some reason, so I was happy to add that to the set. All of the games you see here in this video, by the way, they've all been tested and all work, so everything turned out as expected, and the seller got positive feedback on eBay. This is a Chibi Maruko-chan game. This seems to be a pretty big franchise in Japan, because I've bought Super Nintendo and Saturn and other games with Chibi Maruko-chan, but never seems to have taken off here or been localized here. Now this brick right here, this, I was going to say big brick, but actually it's a tiny brick because WonderSwan games are pretty small. They're about the size of Game Boy Advance games. And it never got released here, so if you're playing these games at all, you're playing imports. Of course, as Mr. MegaManFan, it was inevitable that I was going to import it because there were several WonderSwan exclusive games, so I ended up getting all of those, and thankfully very, very early on when I was collecting Mega Man stuff, because complete in-box copies, they go for way more now than they did back then. This one's called Terrors, and you actually play it rotated sideways. You don't hold the Game Boy Advance the normal direction. Same for Last Alive. I suspect those games are related to each other because of that. Kinnikuman 2 Dream Tag Team Match. Didn't look like a wrestling game from the label, but I assure you it is. From what little I saw of Anchorsfield when I tested it, it looked like a tactical RPG type game, so I'm sure I'll get some fun out of that if I'm able to find a translation and figure it out. This one actually came in a dust sleeve. You can't tell it through the plastic, but it's actually Chocobo no Fushigi no Dungeon, part of that whole dungeon crawler series. There was one cheap GBA game in the lot. This one's called Kotoba no Puzzle. It seems like a word puzzle type game, but the words are all in Japanese. This is Wonder Stadium for the original WonderSwan, but it works in the WonderSwan color or Crystal Swan, whatever you want to call it. And this one is Romancing Saga. No need to explain, the name is right there in English. It's weird how sometimes WonderSwan games actually will be. This one had one word in English, and that's go. Denshade Go. It was a train simulator game. I didn't get very far in that one. Probably will not ever get far in that one. This is a complete inbox game. It was actually fairly reasonably priced. I didn't pay more than, I think, $11 for it. This is either the 9th or 10th complete inbox one I bought, including the aforementioned Mega Man games. Complete inbox games just don't go up for sale that often. This one was called Digimon Adventure Anode Tamer. You probably know the Digimon franchise. I bought Digimon World 4 for GameCube, and that was a little more expensive than I wanted it to be, but I guess that franchise just never took off in the United States compared to Pokemon. I thought it was fairly successful, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe that's just my perception, or just Pokemon is so huge that it just dwarfs everything else by comparison. But then, funnily enough, Pokemon games are even more expensive, even though millions of them have been printed over the years, but more people are trying to collect them than there are copies out there, so Digimon games seem to be relatively cheap by comparison. But yes, complete in-box, which means the cartridge, the manual, the warranty card, all the little goodies are all inside here, which it's just a pleasure to open something up 20 years or more after it came out and all the pieces of it are still in there. That's satisfying. I wish I could explain why it is, but I guess that just makes me a video game collector, because it's kind of hard to beat that feeling when you know that every piece of it is still in there, that somebody actually cared enough to keep all that stuff. Same goes for this game here, the other complete inbox WonderSwan game that I got out of this lot. This one is called Crash Gear Turbo Champion League. Now, of the two, I'm probably going to take more of an interest in Digimon if I can find a translation of it. And yes, I know, Ryan, you're probably looking on romhacking.net right now, but I'm not counting on it for WonderSwan games. That's why a lot of the ones I have are ones that were recommended to me because they were playable in any language, like Gunpei, for example. That one you don't need to know English to play because it's a puzzler. And this one, it looks like I might be able to make some progress in, but I might not. It'll just depend on whether I want to Google Translate one screen at a time or download it and find a patch for it. Maybe one exists. I don't know. Anyway, let's open the box and you can see the insides and get a look at what I bought. I think this one was like $6 or $7. Again, fairly reasonable. You'd think maybe these things would be more expensive given there are less copies of this than, say, Game Boy Advance or DS games, but I guess there also just isn't that many people who are collecting WonderSwan games, so they're somewhat affordable despite the fact that you just don't see them go up for sale that much. So, there's my imports for this video. I feel like I got a pretty good haul all in all. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Thank you as always for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. You know all the things to do. Leave your comments below on which games you think out of this lot were the most interesting. And Ryan, I know you're going to send me those links, but don't worry about it, because if you can't find any, I'm all good.